So, and then we come to the next overview, which is actually much more important in the way Ayurvedic doctors will look at people, which are the doshas, Vata, Kapha and Pitta. I think everybody may know the 5 elements. Actually, here in the West, we have, in our history, we have 4 elements. We have earth, water, fire, and air. But originally, there was also a 5th called space, Akash in Sanskrit. And I'm saying originally because this is another part of Ayurvedic knowledge which actually came from India through the Greeks here, but somehow on the way we lost space. Okay, who cares? It's not going anywhere anyhow. So these 5 elements are, in the Ayurvedic view, the 5 principal elements of our body. And actually the 5 principal elements out of which anything in the physical world is made. And this may seem like a very simple system compared to our periodical table of the elements, which has over 120, or I have no idea, different kinds of elements. But this is another approach, and actually it's an approach that is also known in our science, because earth, that's just solids, and water, that's just liquids, and fire is just fire, and air is gases, you could say, and space is space. So we also have that actually in our system, but for Ayurveda it is very, very important. Yet in Ayurveda they have simplified the issue by creating only 3 categories, Kapha, Pitta and Vata, in which Kapha is earth and water combined, Pitta is fire and air combined, and Vata is air and space combined. But this is not done just to make things more simple. This is actually because 2 of the 5 elements never move. Earth never moves and space never moves. Space always stays, Can very much move. Where would it move? Because it is space, You can only move in space. Outside of space, what is there to move? And earth is earth. It does not move. So it is only that which moves, only that which changes, which is creating any problems in our body. And that is why we have Kapha, Pitta, Vata. And the word dosha actually means fault. It means something is out of balance. So if you have a Kapha problem, then it means you have a problem with the water element. Basically, earth and water element. If you have a Pitta problem, then you have a problem with the fire element. And if you have a Vata problem, then basically you have a problem with the air element, which has somehow moved out of balance. You either have too much of it or you have too little of it. Both are possible. The way that Kapha is translated usually is as mucus. So everything which is mucus in our system, there are many different kinds, is most representative of Kapha. And then most representative of Pitta is bile, gal, for the people who speak Dutch. And most representative of the Vayu or Vata is the air, is the gas, which we can feel, for example, in our belly, but which also plays a very important role in our blood, where it is transporting the oxygen, where the oxygen is. And in many other places, Vata is very, very important. We mostly find Kapha in tissues, in our flesh, and in our organs. They are mostly made out of Kapha. Pitta plays the most important role in digestion, and it is the fire of our digestion which actually creates our body heat. It is because of the combustion which happens in our intestines and stomach and everything. And then also, of course, later in the cells also there is more combustion. And that also is a place where Pitta plays a role. And then Vata, apart from, as I said, the gases that we can feel in our belly, in our intestines, and the blood and things like that, is present in the nerves. It rules the nervous system, which is of course also very important because the nervous system rules the whole body and directs the whole body and tells it what to do. You can also relate these three to the 5 sense organs, meaning smell and taste are related to Kapha, sight to Pitta, and touch and hearing to Vata. This is actually a direct relation with the elements. Sound is related to space, so hearing and sound are related to space, because space is the only thing that is needed to hear sound. Even through interstellar space, sound can travel. It does not need air. And then touch is related to air, because to feel air, touch is what we need. If we do like that, then we feel the air on our skin. If we would have no sense of touch, we would not even know air was there, apart from any special scientific equipment that might at some point have discovered it. But apart from that, from our own equipment, it is the sense of touch which tells us that there is air. We feel the wind in our face, things like that. And then, of course, fire gives light. So it is related to sight. Without fire, we cannot see. Some fire is there, or the sun is there, or some other light. And then for taste, we need water. If your tongue would be 100% dry, you could not taste anything. You can actually test that. If you have something which is very astringent, which is making your tongue very dry, and you put it on your tongue, and then later you put some chocolate, and it will taste like sand. You'll not be able to taste it. And then also earth is the only thing that really gives off smell. If you look at the elements as pure elements, meaning pure water does not have smell, pure fire does not have smell, pure air does not have smell, pure sound, pure space does not have smell, but even pure earth will have smell. So in that way they are related to that. The first thing to understand is that, like I was saying with the gunas, we are all born with a particular body type which relate to these 3 doshas. So some of us are born as pittas, some are born as kaphas, and some as vatas, and some are born as vata pittas, and some are born as vata kaphas, and some are born as pitta kaphas. So even mixtures of all 3 in more or less balance are possible. It's not so easy to determine your original body type. The best age to determine it is in puberty. But even then, if this child has already undergone some transformation due to maybe bad habits, it may be possible that even at that age you cannot see the original body type. A Ayurvedic doctor can really feel the pulse and can really determine what was your original body type. But that is not so easy to learn. These body types can be very generally classified as Vata people being relatively thin, like me, Kapha people being relatively rounded, and Pitta people being relatively muscular and having athletic bodies. So you can remember maybe yourself at that age, and if you were not a sugar addict at that time, or didn't have any other particular thing going on which might have very strongly influenced your body type, then most probably there at that age you can recognize your original body type. But so the way that you live can have an enormous impact. If you are a Vata person, but for some reason or other you are eating a lot of sweets, then the body will take up some of this kapha, this water, no? That is coming from the sweets, and you will become more round. Or a kapha person who has a very worrisome childhood, who has been thinking a lot more than a child at that age should, because maybe, I don't know, some problem at home, can be looking very much like a Vata type. And likewise, a Vata person who has a father who is very sportive, and then as a child also he has to do a lot of sports, so he can look very muscular because of all the sports that he's been doing, but actually this is not so much his original body type. So it's not so easy, but it is important, because it is by doing those things which fits your original body type that you will remain healthy the most easily. So in that way, it is a good idea to a little bit think about it. And if you meet an Ayurvedic doctor or my brother, he can tell you what was your original body type. So there is the original body type, there is your current body type, which may be different from the original one, and then there is also your current particular condition, which may be simply related to whatever you were eating 2 hours ago. If you are a Vata person, but you are eating a lot of sweets at some moment, then a few hours later, your body chemistry, your whole system will become more Kapha dominated. And this may cause certain disease. So in Ayurveda, all disease on the purely physical level finds its origin in imbalances in these 3 doshas. All 3 are needed. Kapha is what gives stability to your body, what grounds your body. Pitta also needed. It gives you vitality. It gives fire, digestive fire also. You need to be able to digest. Many people these days have a lack of Agni. The digestive fire is called Agni. And Vata is needed for thinking and for reacting in speed. Everything which has to do, with being quick-witted and fast and concentrated, for all that you need Vata. So all 3 are needed, but if they go out of balance, then you have a problem. And to understand how this may come, you have to see that both Kapha and Vata are cold, while Pitta is hot. And at the same time, Kapha is wet, while Pitta and Vata are dry. And this is such an important thing to understand about yourself. For a Kapha person, he must always be careful not to get cold. Because already the nature is cold. And must be careful not to get too wet, meaning not to take too much liquid. Otherwise, very easily, liquid will accumulate, and then maybe cough and cold and nose running and many other more serious problems can be created inside the body because of it. So a Pitta person by nature is hot and dry, so they should be very careful not to get too hot or too dry. They should drink a lot and cool down as much as possible, because otherwise, they'll get other kinds of diseases, other kinds of problems which are related to Pitta. And then Vata people actually have the most difficult task, because Vata is cold and dry. So if they take too much heat, then that removes the cold, but the dryness will increase, and through it also Vata again will increase and get out of balance. And if on the other hand, when they feel too dry, they take too much water, then the dryness will be solved, but it will cool them down, and again Vata will increase. So this is a little difficult for the Vata people, or for everybody having any kind of Vata condition, because as I said, it's not just about your original body type or your current body type, but also the state you are in any time of the day or any moment. If you are already having a running nose, whether you are a Pitta type or a Vata type does not matter. You are at that moment having a Kapha problem. But to solve that problem is actually very easy. Just increase the heat somehow or other. We'll talk about how you can do that, but somehow or other you are going to put on the fire, and the water will evaporate and the cold will go and your nose will stop running. If you have a Pitta condition, like maybe you have been on a bus or something and it was very hot on the bus, and you're coming out of the bus and you're completely red hot and so on, this is not a good condition. This is an imbalance in your system. This can create disease. So as soon as you can, you're going to have some cold air and a little drink, and you have to cool down. Okay. But if you have a Vata problem, as I said, it is more difficult. And with most people, a Vata problem will be recognized by nervousness. When your nerves are starting to become stressed, then you have a Vata problem. And then you have to add a little bit of heat, but not too much. And make sure, you don't get too dry. So you need also some water, but without cooling yourself down. So with Vata it's a little bit more complicated, and actually Vata is the main problem in health, because water and fire, they can move in the body, but to move they still need Vata. It is the air which is actually moving everything around. The air cannot move around earth or space, but it can move around the water or the fire. And if your air dosha is okay, actually minor imbalances in Pitta and Kapha will not cause any problem. They will just stay a little bit local, and after a while they'll be gone. It's only when they start moving around, when they start spreading about, that they are creating problems. And that is always happening through Vata. And that is another main reason why it's so important to stay calm for your health. If you are staying calm, then that means your Vata also is calm. You are not nervous. Your whole system remains calm. Whatever body cell is freaking out because it's too hot is not able to inflame the rest of your body, as long as the nerves are not picking up the signal and transferring it with some sense of urgency to the rest of the body. Understand? So if you can keep your Vata under control, that is the main thing. If you understand this hot, cold, dry, wet thing, then to deal with your own health, you actually only need two basic medicines: water and ginger. Fresh ginger. So you should always carry that around in your purse, because what I'm now explaining is something which you should do fast. You should be watchful of your body, and whenever you feel I'm either too hot or too cold, or too dry or too wet, you should react. If you can do that, then disease will have much more hard time to catch a hold of you. And for that you can use water to cool down, but not ice cold water. Ice cold water will create a Pitta reaction. A lot of people do that whenever it's very hot. They drink ice cold water or ice cold Coca-Cola or something. And you have to, the next time you do it, because I don't mind, the next time you do it, you drink it, and afterwards you watch your body. You will start sweating even more than before you were drinking it. That's because this ice cold water for the body is like a little strange. So it thinks I have to respond, and it produces more heat. So you're feeling more hot. and you start sweating even more. So the water should not be cold, it should be like room temperature or something. Even lukewarm water, not bad. But okay, if you have to carry it around in your purse, room temperature is just easy. You have a little bottle of water always with you. And then you have some ginger. And why ginger? So ginger is like spicy, hot, creating heat. But it is not very drying. If you have a running nose and you say, oh, I'll take a chili and I'll just eat, one of these red or green hot chilies, that will solve my kapha problem. Then you will actually create more kapha. Because this heat impact on your system will be so strong that your body will produce more mucus and your nose will start running even more. And ginger in that way is quite special because, it is fresh, it still has some juice, and you can even mix it with the water. Because as I said, you have to be careful not to go too much in one direction or the other. Neither too hot nor too cold, neither too dry nor too wet. So you just take, like, in most cases, 1 to 3 cubic centimeter of ginger, fresh ginger. You just put it in your mouth. Takes a little getting used to if you're not used to that, but it's really not all that hot or spicy. And you take a sip of water, and with the water together you chew it. That is a very clear trick. And of course, if you're feeling very hot, you just take a little water. And if you're feeling very, very cold, you might just take some ginger and maybe a little sip of water so your throat does not start really like hurting if you're sensitive to that. But so for the rest also, just be very conscious about feeling hot or cold. Try to avoid feeling too hot or too cold. It's really not good. And of course a Pitta person can more easily stand feeling cold because they have a lot of heat. So they don't need to care about it so much. It also impacts, for example, how you do asana. This is something in most yoga classes is not really thought about, but actually asana is having a lot of impact also on your body, and should be adapted according to your body type. If you are a Pitta person, the tendency will be there to overheat, because a Pitta person is very ambitious, has a lot of fire, quite macho, like you could say. And so they will very easily overheat. They should not. They should do asana exercises in a very slow way and not try to prove themselves by doing things which are really very difficult, or trying to, go beyond their limits, trying to always push beyond their limits. They should not do that. It's very, very unhealthy for them. They have this tendency, it's very much in their character to do it, but they should try not to do it. They should do it slow, take a lot of water while doing it, or, in between, take a sip. Doesn't have to be a big amount, but just, cool down. And focus very much on relaxation. Pittas should take life less seriously. So when they do asana, they have to be relaxed about it. And they have to, do a lot of corpse pose and, relax, let the energy go in the floor, all this fire which is there, let it calm down. Kapha people, on the other hand, they don't like to move a lot. They're a little bit lazy. So they should do asana with a lot of effort. They really have to sweat. They really have to do a lot of exercise. And actually when I say asana, it's more or less the same when you talk about any kind of sport. It's the same. Any kind of sport for kapha people, very good. Get rid of this overweight. It's no problem to have a little bit rounder body. That's not a problem. You should not become overweight, Otherwise they will become sluggish, in their mind even, in their feeling even. So moving is good. Not get the kapha too much out of balance. And heat is good, and they should certainly not drink too much. Because whatever they drink, their body will hold it. They already have enough juice, you could say. And then Vata people, again, it is in between. Vata people should neither be too slow and lazy about it when they do asana, but neither should they do it very fast. And they can sweat a little bit when they're doing asana, but definitely not too much, because it will disturb their Vata, and it will not be very healthy, their yoga. No? Actually, you can say for every asana, every particular asana, that it can be very suited for one of the doshas, and maybe neither very unsuited, neither very suited for another of the dosha, and quite unsuited for a third dosha. And that list actually is on our website. You can find that. There are some asanas which are very heating, like the lion pose. No? Lion pose is something I'm sure Pitta people like to do. No? It's very heating. And it's not a problem for a Pitta person to do it once, it's certainly not going to make them ill. Even do it a couple of times is not going to make them ill. But to do it every day, 5 or 10 times, which they will love doing, because they are Pittas, they love playing the lion, it's like written in their character. It's not good. It's not good. So also there we have to be really careful. No? What we are playing with. Sometimes we are too much playing with these things, not knowing enough.
It's a bit strange though, because then you have to go a bit into your nature.
Into your nature?
And like if a Pitta feels really like doing very, then he has to hold back.
Yes, well, but we all have to go against our nature a little bit, huh? Not to become ill. It's okay to accept your nature, no? And if you're a Pitta person, you like running around and doing sports and doing all these things, good. But if you're gonna continue doing that for 20 years, then slowly, your body will start suffering, and suffering more and more until you really become ill. And that kind of illness is very hard to get rid of. A small kind of imbalance will create a small illness. But an imbalance which lasts for 10 years and gradually wears down your system will create a disease which also will take many years to get rid of. So for that it is really, really hard. I mean, there's a lot of young people here, and you actually usually don't have so much health problems. I mean, some also really have some health problems, but most people, if they are young, they don't have so much health problems because they still have so much energy. But, puberty is the peak when it comes to health and energy. From there it only goes downwards. No? So the older you get, the more you have to be aware of these things, and also the longer you may have been doing the wrong things because you just like doing them. No? Because they are in your character, because they are in how you feel, they are what you like doing. And slowly, you may get blood pressure problems. I mean, I've put some of the main problems that are related to the disturbances of these doshas there in the bottom of the graph, like with Pitta, fever, inflammation, but definitely also blood pressure problems. Pitta people at the end of their lives usually are very red in their face. And must really be very careful not to so much overtax their system that suddenly it says boom and they get a heart attack. No? So that also relates to diet and many other things, of course. And sporting is not bad for that, but too much exhausting themselves, too much getting into a sweat, too much heating up, definitely also is not good.